All right, good evening, everyone. If everyone can go ahead and take their seats. Thank you. All right, good evening and welcome to the Heisler Business Ethics Lecture. I'm Destiny Coleman, Director of the Wultemati Center for Economics, Business, and Entrepreneurship. The Wultemati Center was founded in 1985, and it helps students integrate business theory and practice and provides lectures and other resources to benefit students, faculty, and the local community. The Heisler Annual Business Ethics Lecture, sponsored by the Wultemati Center, is funded by the Heisler Family Endowment for the Study of Ethics. The endowment honors OU graduates James Heisler, class of 1938, Robert Heisler, class of 1942, and Bruce Heisler, class of 1949. I would now like to welcome Dr. Matt Woolrath, Associate Professor of Business Administration, Chair of the Economics and Business Department, and Faculty Director of the Wultemati Center.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for being here. We are thrilled to welcome Mike Hamra, class of 1991. Mike is the chairman and CEO of Hamra Enterprises, a family-owned franchise operating nearly 200 Wendy's, Panera Bread, Noodles & Company, and Caribou Coffee locations across 11 states with over 7,400 employees. A University of Missouri School of Law graduate, he began his career as a telecommunications attorney in Washington, D.C., serving in the Clinton administration and at the FCC before joining Aiken Gump. In 2001, Mike joined his family business, expanding Panera in Chicago and Boston. Under his leadership, Hamra Enterprises grew from 26 to nearly 200 locations. He has championed philanthropy, raising millions for organizations like Make-A-Wish, Boston's Children's Hospital, and St. Jude. In 2011, he established an employee assistance fund, which has raised over $4 million to support employees with housing, education, and medical needs. Mike serves on the ALSAC St. Jude's Professional Advisory Board and Boston Children's Hospital's Philanthropic Board. He also has contributed to affordable housing, helping develop 3,300 low-income and senior units nationwide. His achievements have earned him recognition from the Boston Business Journal, the U.S. Department of Commerce, and multiple prestigious awards, including the Missourian Award and the Edwin P. Hubble Medal of Initiative. Mr. Hamra, thank you so much for being here. We're excited to hear from you, and I hope you enjoy the talk, the magic of a strong culture. I hope as you listen, keep in mind that even if you're not working yet, many of you are about ready to enter the working world, but even if you're still going to be a student for a while, you're still part of an organization, you're still part of a culture, and this talk is very relevant to you wherever you are. So, Mike, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, let me just pull this up. So thank you for coming tonight. I really appreciate that, and it is an honor to be here tonight. I want to first acknowledge the Heisler family for supporting the Business Ethic series. And it's really, for me, it's a resource of helping students see what is possible in business and tapping into your own opportunities for making a difference. I also want to thank the Wultemati Center for the invitation, and specifically Nancy Beal-Rukowski, who's back here, who I spent a lot of time with while I was here in college, getting guided and supported in supporting my own fraternity. And Destiny Coleman, where's Destiny? Where'd you go, Destiny? She's around here somewhere. I just want to say it is an honor to be able to share the story about our business and what our leaders have taken on in supporting people. So I'll just start off by saying I've done a lot of different things in my life, as you've heard. I spent about 8 years in Washington, D.C. in the federal government. Part of that time was in the Clinton administration. Part of that time was in private practice. And I most recently ran for governor in the state of Missouri at this last election cycle. I did not win, that's why, however, it was an incredible experience. But tonight's conversation is really about the last 24 years of my life in being a leader at our family-owned organization, which is Hamra Enterprises. And I'm happy to answer questions about any of it. It's all really, quite honestly, related. Everything that I've really done in my life has been around making a difference, supporting people, and I'm happy to answer questions about any of it if you're curious. So, oh, there it is. Okay. So, Our brands. So I'm the chairman and CEO of Hamra Enterprises. We're based in Springfield, Missouri. We're a multi-unit franchisee of different concepts: Wendy's hamburgers, Panera Bread, Noodles and Company, and Caribou Coffee. And being a multi-unit operator just means that we have rights to develop in certain territories around the country. Much of what has driven our growth has really been about making people our number one priority. In fact, as I walk you through our business, you'll start to see that what we built is a magical business in creating and supporting people through different programs, initiatives, and supporting them in their own leadership. So I want to share how we got started. So this is my dad. He's now deceased. He died last August. But Mom and Dad started in 1975 as Wendy's franchisees in Southwest Missouri. He's standing in front of our first location in Springfield. It's still there today, although it's been torn down and rebuilt at least once and remodeled several times since 1975 when we built it. But we started as franchisees of Wendy's hamburgers. And I really didn't go to Ohio Wesleyan or go to law school thinking that I was going to work in the family business. I was inspired to actually go to Washington, D.C. and spend my time working on policy initiatives and legislation. And interestingly enough, how I got interested in that was I did an internship through Ohio Wesleyan with Senator George Mitchell from Maine during a summer when I was here at Ohio Wesleyan. And I was really committed to getting my law degree and going back there, which I did. I had an offer from Senator Mitchell's office to come back and work as a legislative correspondent. Unfortunately, in my very last semester of law school, Senator Mitchell announced that he was not going to run for re-election, which means he's no longer hiring people on his staff. However, because he was the majority leader, he oversaw the Senate Sergeant of Arms office. And when I called his staff, they said, you can still get a job here, but it'll be with the Senate Sergeant of Arms office. So I went to Washington, I graduated law school, I took the bar exam, passed, and got in a U-Haul and moved out to Washington, D.C. I showed up at work the first day at the Senate Sergeant of Arms office, and they said, you're going to be an elevator operator on the Senate side of the Capitol. Turns out that was one of the best jobs that I could have had in being new in Washington, D.C. I met a ton of people on the elevator, and I worked on that elevator for 3 months. And one night, the Senate had just taken a vote. They were clearing out. Many staffers and senators had gone back to their office, had gone home. But it was really thinning out. And there was this man that got on my elevator. He was a little bit shorter than me. He was gray hair, and it was Senator John Glenn from Ohio. And I went, Senator Glenn, I went to Ohio Wesleyan. I have a law degree, and I really need advice on finding a permanent job. And he said nothing about my question. He did not answer the question. He told me a story about growing up with his wife, Annie, getting married, and going to Muskingum College. With a little tear in his eye, he said, call my office tomorrow morning. You talk to Donna. She'll be expecting your call. So I did. And from that connection to several other connections, I finally landed a role in the Clinton administration and became a political appointee in the Clinton administration, which was really awesome experience. And, after that time in D.C., I had stayed in touch with my dad. And, he kept saying, you got to come back, you got to come back. And I said, no way, I'm not coming back. You and I are never going to get along in business for sure, Dad. I mean, come on. But I finally got interested, and one thing that he said to me is he said, I'm finally, there's an opportunity to grow this business outside of Missouri. And he said, I think I'm not going to do it. I think you really ought to take this on. And so I said, let me think about it. And what I thought about was, if I put myself 20 years down the road, really, and look back, am I going to regret not joining my parents and my dad in business? And the answer was yes. I should take this opportunity. I should just do it. Why not? So I did. And at the time, we had 26 restaurants, It was in 2001. And the restaurant business I discovered was really unique because it allowed people to grow in their careers that had never gone to college. Many people even didn't have high school degrees, but it was an industry that really did foster and allow people to grow in their careers. And we have many people in our company today that don't have college degrees but have been very successful for themselves and supporting people, like their families. So about 2 years into my career, I realized that what I loved about the business was the opportunity to support people in being promoted and growing in their careers. And I will tell you that there were other things that really started to impact me in that view and that thought process. We also supported people in becoming citizens of the United States and supporting them and getting their green cards, for example. And I'll remember this one time I walked into a restaurant in Burlington, Massachusetts, and a woman that we had been supporting through that process came running up to me. And she had her purse, and she pulled her green card out of her purse. And she said, "Do you know what this means for me?" Sorry, I get emotional sometimes when I put myself there. But I said, "No, what does it mean to you, Maria?" And she said, "This means that my 2 girls can go to college here in the United States and live their dreams." And I was hooked. I had multiple conversations like that with people while I was working in the business. And I just really started to get that my role here is to support people, is to grow and develop them and supporting them in supporting themselves and supporting their families. So by 2005, I'd taken on the role of being president and chief operating officer of the entire business. And my passion for people and growing it drove me to focus on having a business that was going to be profitable so that we could continue to grow and support people. And as we continued to add restaurants, we also employed more and more people. And with more and more people, there are more situations where people needed support for unexpected situations like medical, housing, natural disasters. And in those early days, my dad and I would support people out of our own pockets. In fact, in 2008, we had 2 employees that I knew. One was a single mother, and she unfortunately died of a drug overdose in her bathtub with 2 small children. She didn't have family come together quickly to support those 2 small children, so we supported her, and we supported her children during that time until family came together and organized and was able to support those two children. A few months later, we had another employee who I knew who was on her break during her shift, and she was crossing the street in Quincy, Massachusetts, and she was hit by a truck. She had 2 small children too. The truck killed her instantly, but she also had a husband, but her husband wasn't able to financially support the 2 children. He didn't have enough money, so we stepped in and helped. And I realized after those 2 incidences, so close together, that we needed a fund that was going to support people long term, and one that was well structured, well organized, and supported people for what they needed. Not what we thought they needed, but what they actually needed. So at this point, we've been in business for 30 years. This was really a turning point for us. And we started thinking through what we could put together. And I discovered that there were some companies that had employee assistance funds. So I went to work trying to find some companies that I could learn from about building an employee assistance fund. And what I discovered is there's not a lot of companies out there that have employee assistance funds. There's even fewer companies that actually run them effectively. But I found 2 companies that were doing a really good job. One was the Darden Restaurant Company. They own concepts like Olive Garden, Capitol Grill, Seasons 52. And they were fantastic to work with. They care about people. They do a lot to support employees and families. And we molded a lot of our employee assistance program from that business. The second company was an entertainment company. They own Silver Dollar City down in Branson, Missouri. They own Dollywood. They own the Harlem Globetrotters. They also had put in place an employee assistance fund. And The one thing that I found was a common denominator between those two companies and how effective they were running them was that the employee assistance funds had been put together by either the founders or the leaders of the company. And that meant a lot. That meant that they were supporting it in the way it needed to be supported. So one of the founders of the Hershen family of entertainment, which owns Silver Dollar City, his name's Jack Hershen, and I spent some time with Jack. And Jack said, listen, you're not going to have a problem raising money to support people. You're going to have a problem having people accept that they can take money for their needs. And I said, well, what do we do about that, Jack? And he said, you need to market this, you need to build awareness, and you need to make it okay that people can accept money for things that they need. He said, you know, people have pride and they're embarrassed to ask for things. And he says, you're going to have a real problem with that. He goes, we have a big problem with that right now. He goes, we got several $1 million that we cannot get into the hands of our employees. So before we ever launched the Employee Assistance Fund, we did a ton of marketing to build awareness around it and talk about the needs of employees. But what we came up with is, after I immersed myself and my team immersed themselves in learning about this, is we created an employee assistance fund called Hamra Employees Reaching Out. It stands for HERO. And that was a name that was generated by one of our employees, actually. So we went to work, we launched the fund, and this is a picture of us launching the fund in 2011. And one of the things that we realized we had to do is we had to allow employees to contribute to the fund. And I'll talk a little bit about why that's so important here in a minute. But for every dollar that an employee contributes to the fund, we match it dollar for dollar. The average donation per paycheck by an employee is about $2.50. And I'll share why it's important for employees to contribute to the fund. It's about allowing them to own and taking on something that's bigger than just getting a paycheck. And so many employees love being able to contribute, not for themselves, but for other people that they work with. So I like to meet people and thank them if they've contributed to the Employee Assistance Fund. And what we do is we give out pins in the organization. If you've contributed to the Employee Assistance Fund, you get a little hero pin, and you put it on your uniform. And so I was walking through Seabrook, New Hampshire one time. We have a Wendy's there. And the grillman had a pin on. And I said, thank you for contributing to the fund. And he said, you're welcome. He said, I'm proud to be able to do that, to be able to support people that I work with and be able to support people that need it more than I do. Well, as I kept talking to him, I found out that he was homeless. He had child obligations, but he was moving from hotel to hotel. And I said, how much do you contribute to the fund every paycheck? And he said, $5. And I said, that's a lot of money for you. And he said, it's what I can give. And I discovered that people that give the most money have the least amount of money to actually give, but they give what they can because they care so much about supporting their colleagues and making a difference for other people. So we make a big deal about the HERO, big deal in our organization about the HERO Fund. We promote it, we talk about it, and these are some photos of the week we do every year to celebrate HERO Fund. People dress up in hero costumes, they post things all over their restaurants, they run contests during this period of time. It's awesome, and something really magical shows up in that time. Because one of the things that we're trying to do is we're trying to build awareness around what this fund does and build a culture of people supporting each other. So, and that is exactly what it does. It's a culture of employees owning it, empowering each other, and it means a lot to them that they can support people in time of need. So the Employee Assistance Fund started out as supporting people in time of need, but here's what we do with it today. We have 11 unique programs. I know you're seeing 12 up there, and I'll show you this one in the bottom left-hand corner is unique. But we support people in adopting children. We support people in financial well-being, like debt management. Domestic abuse is our third largest need. I actually think it ought to be our #1 need, and we're actually working on bringing in a training program that will help our managers identify women in abusive situations, because women that do raise their hand are incredibly courageous, and we get them into safe housing, and we also get their children into safe housing, and then we support them. We will support people in going back to get some form of education. We reimburse them for their tuition. This year alone, we'll have somewhere close to almost 200 people that will go back and get some form of education. Emergency travel is for supporting people that need to go see someone and take care of them that is sick. We have a lot of people that work for us that are from other countries, and so getting airfare to Haiti, for example, is not cheap. We support them in going back there. Funeral expenses is another one. It's an unexpected event that happens that people don't plan for, families don't plan for. That supports the employee. If something happens to the employee, it supports somebody in their family, not just their immediate household, but we support somebody in their family, because it is a real burden on the family when somebody passes away unexpectedly and they have to fork over money for funeral expenses. First-time home buyers. We've put a number of people into their own home so they can build wealth for themselves. And what's interesting about first-time home buyers is we're not helping them necessarily financially. We're helping them see that it's actually possible to own a home. Many people that are in our organization don't see that it's actually possible to own a home. They never grew up in a house that was owned by their family or their grandparents. They don't actually see it's possible. So we help them through a program to have them see that, and then we help them financially buy a home. We also do some other types of housing. We do have a number of homeless people that work in our organization. And again, people that are homeless are not very, takes courage to actually share that. I was with a woman last night in Chicago that has been with us for 10 years, and she said, I want you to know, I was homeless. And I came here and I really got the support that I needed. And she said, I'm successful now. I can support my children. We support a lot of people like that. Matching grant is if we can't provide something that's up here on the screen, we will do a fundraiser for them. Medical is extended medical. Natural disasters are exactly what you think they are. And transportation is trying to support people in getting back and forth to work, as well as maybe getting to grocery stores and getting food for their family. So while it started as an emergency fund, it's expanded to so much more. And then here are the numbers of what we've done. So we are actually over 4 million at this point. These are a little old. We've supported over 2,769 employees. It's actually more than that right now. But the key between what we've raised and what we've given back, we don't want to keep money. We want it going back into the hands of the employees. So remember that conversation I had with Jack from Silver Dollar City. I would say we have succeeded here because we also have a 68% participation rate. That means we're a company that employs almost 7,700 people today. That means 68% of our employees give something to this fund, and then we match it. That is a very high number. In fact, we just hit over 70% in the last 30 days of people contributing to the fund. The average among employee assistance funds around the country, the people that do it really well, is about 20%. We're at over 70%, which I'm very proud of. We've provided back in 2024 259 emergency grants, and what we did back in 2024 around supporting people and going back to school is 151. We'll be at 200 this year. So it's pretty exciting, those numbers, and we feel like we're just getting started. We feel like we can do so much more. We have a great board that constantly works on things that are needed for people. And my number one objective for that board is that nobody in the senior level team can be on it, because we don't experience what people at the associate level can experience. We need people that actually have been through these experiences and have these experiences to be able to make those decisions for people that need it. After putting this together, we really started to look at what was really next. And what was next was putting together a charter for our company And a charter is a document, like a one-page document that states who we are as an organization. It's our North Star for guiding us on decision making. And what we did is we worked with an outside facilitator, but we identified 50 people in our organization that were up to something. And here's this group. This is in 2012. We created the charter in 2013 because it took us 5 days split over a couple of months to actually put this together. But we identified people from myself, the CEO, down to bakers, down to store-level managers. They weren't just people that were there for a job. They were actually up to something. These are people standing or sitting here before you that were committed to each other, committed to making a difference. And we went to work over 5 days on putting together a charter that we debated on. Words that got put on the paper had to be unanimously supported. We didn't just get like 2/3 of the room that said, we're good with that. We had to have every single person on board. And it took a long time to do it, and it was grueling, and we went into late nights with this. People wanted to go home, but we said, no, you are going to stay. We are going to stay here until everybody in this room agrees on that one word or that sentence or that paragraph. So, and for me, sometimes I was the CEO where I just made a final decision, and sometimes, most of the time, I was a participant. I went into that charter creation as a participant. So, I'm going to read you the charter. So, here's the charter. Hamra Enterprises Charter. Hamra Enterprises is a dynamic organization owned and founded in 1975 by the Hamra family. Our purpose is to provide the highest quality products and services within the hospitality industry. We create exceptional experiences for people and communities throughout the world. United, we're world-class leaders, diverse in talent and collaborative in voice. We stand for each other in being empowered and engaged in moving our business forward. We stand for people living a life they love. We are committed to development and growth through training, coaching, and learning from one another. We can be counted on to be authentic in our speaking and generous in our listening. We are accountable for generating profit as a catalyst for growth. Our core values are fun. We love what we do. Integrity, we honor our word. Family, we cherish and nurture relationships. Self-expression, we embrace our humanity. Discovery, we have the courage to create the future. We are Hamra. So why this charter is so important? It gets read at every single meeting before the meetings start. Inside of our restaurants, when there's what we call huddles before a shift starts, they read the charter. This empowers people to be this instead of being something else in those moments and when they go to work. And when you go to one of our restaurants, you should experience these core values. You should experience that this is what the charter, expresses for people. So it's a pretty awesome charter. It's carried us through, almost 14, 15 years now, and I think it's going to carry us on for another 5, 10 years at least. But it has been incredibly powerful in supporting our culture and who we are. So, given all that, and given our Employee Assistance Fund, our charter in 2014, we made our first small acquisition. We started to put our foot in the water on making acquisitions, and in 2015, we opened up our 100th location. So this is the first 40 years of our business. It took us 40 years to get to 100 locations, and this was Tinley Park. And after this store opening, my parents were on the moon. They couldn't believe that we had 100 locations. They said we never envisioned that we would be at 100 locations and supporting people the way that we're doing. So getting bigger for us meant that we could support more people and impact more lives. And we realized that we could do more by focusing on supporting our culture, our leaders, and strengthening that. And we did. 2015 was a big year for us. We hit that 100 store mark. And we went into Boston, Massachusetts, where we picked up another 30 locations of Wendy's stores. And then 1 year later, we picked up another 26 locations of Wendy's stores in Chicago. So we were starting to pick up steam and momentum pretty quick. The most important thing about making acquisitions is integrating people into your culture. We do what we call employee meetings, as most companies do when they introduce themselves to their employees. But those employee meetings have a lot of like what I would call the unknown by the employees. They have no idea who we are. And we have to stand up in front of them and share about who we are. The things that are most important to employees are medical. Am I going to get the same benefits that I'm getting today or better? Are you going to honor my anniversary date so that I get the same vacation that I'm getting now? Or are you going to roll it back to being today? And no kidding, companies do that. We honor vacations, no matter how long ago they were, whenever their anniversary date was. It could have been 30 years ago. We'll honor that date. And we do provide benefits that are as good, if not better. But we also do something a little bit more interesting. We talk about our culture. We have people that come in from other acquisitions now and share about what it was like for them. And then we spend time with these people. This is a group of managers in our Chicago market and our Boston market on our right. But that was the group of store-level general managers, and that was one meeting. We had about 3 meetings in each market to really share this. What's really interesting today is that we do more than just talking to them about the benefits. We also implement immediately, within the first 30 days of an acquisition, developmental courses and workshops where I co-lead them. So I get to go and learn about the employees. I get to sit in a workshop with them for 2 solid days, learn about their life, but also support them in their development. And that's exactly what we took on after back in 2020. We started creating not just, we were supporting our Hero Fund, we were supporting our charter, but then we saw that what was needed was developing people, supporting them and growing in their careers. And we started taking on all over our company, doing workshops, 2-day workshops where people got to see themselves in those workshops, got to see for themselves what was missing in their own leadership and started to being developed. So we develop every single manager, including shift managers throughout our company, including above store level people throughout the company. And what it does is it allows people to grow in their careers. That's one of the most important things for people that are in our industry, and sure a lot of industries, is people have want the opportunity to be able to grow in their careers and being developed. And as we develop more and more people, one of the things that we discover is that they themselves go back and they start developing people in their own stores. What happens out of that is sales start to climb, turnover starts to come down, and our customer experience gets a lot better. We really started to hone in on what the magic was for our company and for developing and supporting people. And so we went on and started continue to acquire stores. So in 2019, we acquired like 13 more Paneras down south and another 24 Paneras along the Gulf of Mexico. And these accusations got very different in how we were working with people and supporting them in their own growth. So when we go into a market, and today I'll share with you that on one of these meetings where we've done workshops, these are people we've never met before. I mean, we've been with them for 30 days. We do these workshops, and people will walk up to me after the workshops and they'll say, no one's ever actually given us development work. We've learned the business, we understand the business, but no one's ever trained us in being a leader. And no one's ever supported us in the way that you guys can support us. And we will never leave this company. You guys continue to do this stuff. We're never going to leave. Like, we have no reason to leave. You're supporting us and you're supporting our families. And that means a lot. So what we've taken on is not just that. We keep iterating. We keep figuring out ways to support people. That's really our sweet spot, is figuring out how to continue to support people. So one of the more creative ways what we've done in supporting people recently in the last few years is we discovered that children in our organization of the children of our employees, many of them don't get gifts at Christmas. So we took it upon ourselves to create a gift giving, and we buy gifts for all the children, at least one gift for the children of every one of our employees. We have almost 7,700 employees today. Not everyone has children, but the ones that do, they get a gift. And we throw parties. We have a Santa Claus and a Mrs. Claus. We have a dinner, and we invite the employees to the party. And then the kids get to spend time with Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus, and Santa Claus gives a gift to that child. Now, here's what's unique. Our IT department was really creative. They came up with a way to make sure that every child in our organization gets the gift that they want. So the employee tells our managers what their children want. The manager has an app on their phone. They input the information on their phone, and that gift gets bought for that child. So when the child is sitting on Santa Claus's lap, they have really no idea all the stuff that's gone on to get that gift to Santa Claus, that the Santa Claus is about to hand to the child. They're totally blown away that they got the gift that they want. So it's a pretty magical thing that happens in our organization, and it just goes further to supporting the culture that we have. One of the other things that we've done recently in supporting our employees is a lot of student employees that are in high school or college work in our organization because they need to support themselves, or in many cases they need to support their families. We know that. And we've interviewed many of them. And what most people say who work for us, they say, look, we're busy. We got classwork, we got extracurricular activities, we may be in sports, and we have to take care of our families at home. So what gets neglected? Studying. So we created a program to pay our student employees to do their homework in our stores. And we do that today. And we've been measuring it. We've been doing that for a few years now. We measure it. We can see the grades going up for our high school students and even some of our college students. They will tell us that they're making better grades because we're paying them to do their homework in our stores. We pay them an hour before their shift or an after their shift. It seems a little unorthodox to a lot of other business leaders that I've interacted with, but I'm going to tell you, it makes a huge difference, not just for them staying with us, but it makes a huge difference in the communities where we're doing business in, because they do perform better, and it elevates their overall performance. So, what's all this? Why does all this matter? It's about making a difference. And my commitment is that we build an organization and continue to build it that employs people who take actions that matter most to them, and their contributions to their families, their communities, and the businesses they work in. That is a future that gets me out of bed every single morning, and that's what excites me about being in this business. I love it. With that, I'm finished, but you can see a picture of a bunch of people in our organization that have really found their careers and their opportunity to grow and be developed, and it's a pretty fun organization to be a part of. So thank you guys, and I'm happy to answer questions. Yes.
You've done a lot of fine things for your employees there. Those are pretty spectacular. Was just wondering, does your company offer any profit sharing for the employees, or do the employees ask for that?
So we give pretty good compensation. We start everyone above minimum wage, number one, but we have gotten in that conversation right now about figuring out how we can support our high-performing, long-tenured managers in our organization, because I think it makes a big difference. Culture makes a huge difference and a huge impact, and we have people who are very high performers that really do own it in like the way they see the business, but we think they should be getting something extra on that as well, and ownership could be part of that. And it's been hard to crack that in the restaurant industry. So many people have tried to do it and they've kind of failed. But we're looking at it and trying to figure out if there's a way that we can create something that would allow for that. Yeah.
Mike, great talk. My name is Frank Hickman. I've really enjoyed this. One of the things I've learned over the years with business and military is the best weapon you'll ever take into battle is good morale. And you are doing everything to support your people, and the morale with your stores has to be awesome.
Yeah.
I do have a question. You had mentioned in a interview from several years ago, I'm quick to tell employees to be unafraid to act. Could you expound on that? Because I really was taken by the opportunity that you give your employees to make decisions.
Yes. So we create a culture, but what I say that, meaning me and executives and people at the company, we create space for people to be empowered, meaning it is up to them to create cultures inside their own stores. And we have almost 200 stores. We'll have over 200 stores by the end of this year. Every one of those has its own individual unique culture because of what gets created by the leaders in that restaurant. And every one of these restaurants is a small to a larger business. They do anywhere between $1.8 million to over $4 million each. They have an opportunity to create a culture for their team and their members. And I go into some of our highest performing stores, and I walk in the back. There are brownies for somebody's anniversary. There's cakes for people's birthdays. If you look around our dining room, there are balloons in the dining room and a table made up for the couple that comes in that's going to celebrate their own anniversary in our store because they know how to take care of the guest. We empower them to take those actions and make decisions in the moment on how to take care of our guests and how to manage the employees. The development work we do is developing them in their leadership so they can have the autonomy to make those decisions in the moment. They don't need to make a phone call to us, and they don't need to be going into a computer system to be told that they can't do something. We need them to take those actions because that's what matters in the moment in building the business and building those relationships with guests. Hopefully that answered. Yeah. Yeah. Back in the back.
Mike, you've mentioned a lot of initiatives that you've tried. How do you determine if an initiative that you've implemented is successful or not?
We test it, and we failed. The one that we have failed at is supporting daycare. We are decentralized. We cannot create our own daycare center. But one of the programs that we did 3 years ago is a code I've been trying to crack for a long time because it would unleash the power of so many single parents in our organization, mostly women, because they want to move up, they want to have management positions, but they don't have the support they need for daycare. And so we tried a program that was a national organization that trained people to take care of children in their home. And it was a certified program, it was a legitimate program. We reduced the cost of daycare by 35 to 40%. Here's the problem. It wasn't enough. And one of the reasons I wanted to run for office is because I now get that we need public-private, partnerships. We need government assistance to help support us to get over that barrier. In the state of Missouri, I've been a huge advocate for providing for that, so the state will fund employers that want to provide daycare to their employees. It was going to be signed off by a Republican governor last term, and it got rejected by the Republican-controlled Senate in the state of Missouri. It was infuriating for me because I was like, this is the very thing that you can do to unleash the power of businesses in the state of Missouri and unleash the power of people in the state of Missouri, and it got rejected. It's such a simple thing, in my opinion, but we need that partnership. We cannot do it on our own. Daycare is very expensive for a lot of people, and that is a barrier that's in the way of them growing in their careers. So we test it. We tried it for about almost 2 years, and it was too costly for people. So. Yes.
What's your next initiative? You've got 12 great programs. You talked about one program that just failed. What's your next initiative to helping? I want to commend you on the programs you've put in place. They're really insightful and different than many other organizations, especially in the business that you're in a lower paying wage situation. You've really, I have to commend you on the programs you are. What's next?
Yeah, I think from a program standpoint, it's going to be what matters to employees. We can do more in transitional housing. I kind of mentioned that a little bit. I know we can do more there, but I think there's opportunities to support people more in financial well-being and developing them in how to actually, build wealth. We do that a little bit with housing, where we encourage people to go out and buy their own home, and we support them financially on their down payments to do that. And those are forgivable down payments. You don't have to pay that back. But we want to do more of that because we know how important it is to try to support people in building wealth and the difference it makes for them and their families. So those are areas that we're looking in right now to try to figure out what else we can do to support that. And the other thing is just sharing this, getting this out there. We've shared it. It's hard sometimes for CEOs to get their head around this and how, what do you mean you're spending that kind of money to support employees? Like, why would you do that? Shouldn't you just be focused on managing your food costs or your labor? I'm like, you should, but these are the people managing your food costs. These are the people managing your labor. This is your strongest and best asset is your people. Focus on them. That's what will help elevate your business. That's the other thing we're trying to do. Because I want to share it. We give away our programs. I've had a lot of people ask for these programs, and we have a team. We have 2 people in our company, our general counsel and the head of our employee assistance fund, Rachel. And if I call and say, Rachel, I've got a CEO that wants to know more about this program, she goes, I'll take it. She'll spend a couple weeks trying to help them launch a program like this. We want to help launch these programs everywhere we can.
I want to thank you for all that you're doing, but I also want to ask you, one of the biggest challenges, I believe, in running restaurants is employee turnover. Mm-hmm. You've been able to manage it differently, or is that a goal of yours for the future?
So it's a measure. We measure it to see if the programs that we're supporting are impacting it. And our turnover is lower than the industry. In fact, since we've implemented our development work, we've dropped turnover by another 20 percentage points. So we can see it, we can measure it, and we can see it. And so doing good for people is doing good for your business as well. I mean, that's really, I say that a lot, but then I kind of share more about it. But it does is that turnover. Our industry has one of the highest turnovers. I mean, we have almost 7,700 employees today. We hire, because we have a little less than 100% turnover right now, but if you look at all our brands or whatever, it's a little over 100. We have 7,700 employees. We're hiring that many people every year. People are staying, but we're seeing that come down. But it's a cost. I mean, the numbers are all over the place, but it's somewhere around $5,000 to $8,000 every time we turn over somebody. It's a lot of money to the business. All right, one more.
Oh, you said you had 70% employee participation in the Hero Fund, and other businesses only have 20% approximately. What are you doing to have 50% more than companies across the country?
So We do several things. We do an employee hero fun week where people dress up. I dress up. I didn't show you that picture. It's kind of embarrassing, but yeah. But we do. We dress up and we do goofy things to try to get people excited about it. We also we ran the hero program on a volunteer basis for years, and about 18 months ago, we finally said we're going to pay to have somebody run the program. Her name's Rachel. She was part of an acquisition we did down in Memphis, Tennessee, a few years ago, and we said we're just going to hire somebody to run this program. Rachel's now running it, and she's fabulous because it's her full-time job to run the hero program. We pay her. None of that money comes out of the hero fund. We pay it out of the corporate, expense. So Rachel does a lot to build awareness. She's connecting with district managers. She's watching measures across the company to see if they're talking about it, if they're getting people involved and engaged. And she can also see where the support is happening in the organization. Where support's not happening, that means people aren't talking about it. So what Rachel does is she gets on the phone and she starts working with district managers and managers on having them get into the stores and talk about it and build awareness. The awareness is about trying to get people to use the fund. We want people using the fund. And it also builds awareness, but that's where the 70% comes from, is we've hired somebody to actually go out there and be active about it. And we do a lot of different things throughout the year to try to help build that awareness around it.
How would you run your business if you were a public company? Would it be much different, or do you believe you could run it the same way?
Well, I would never want to be a public company, but I think we would run it the same way. I wouldn't be afraid of, what we stand for and what we're up to. I just wouldn't, and I wouldn't want to do business with people that are afraid to do that. But we would be loud and proud about what we do, and I think we'd have hopefully more conscious investors in our business.
All right, any other questions? We have time for one more.
Go what? Right up here.
Hi, thank you for all the program that you created for your employees. With the current and potential future political issues right now, how would you create a security for your current employees? And what's your vision for this year?
Oh, and growth, you mean? Like how we're,
Yeah.
So I'll answer that one first. So we're building 6 to 7 Wendy's locations and about the same amount next year. So we'll have somewhere between 13 and 14 new stores organically built. Our vision is to continue to grow through acquisition as well. So because we're getting really good at acquisitions, we can do larger acquisitions now and integrate people. That's really what it's about. It's less about can you afford to do the acquisition and more about can you bring all these people into your organization from a cultural standpoint quickly. And because that's where the rubber meets the road, really. I mean, you either lose your tail or you can make it up and be profitable if you can get people engaged and involved in the business and in the culture. So in the political climate, we're just going to continue to do what we're doing. We're not going to change anything off our website. We're not going to do anything different than what we're already doing. And we know that we have integrity about everything that we're doing, and we're going to stand firm about that. Like, we can't be messed with. Not that that's a challenge, but that's like, we're very proud about what we do and how we support people and make a difference for themselves or families in the communities we do business in. And we'll continue to share that. It's one of the reasons I want this to be spread out there and shared, because this is about supporting people. And businesses are the perfect vehicle for supporting, people, quite honestly, and supporting some of the social issues that we have out there. We can get more businesses to do this, like we'll start to see things shape up differently throughout communities, and I know that because we're doing it.
All right, let's give Mike Hamra a round of applause.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mike, for your presentation this evening. Students, if you haven't already done so, please sign in at the reception desk. And thank you so much, Mike.
Thank you.